Hey, what's up, guys? The Guitar Gamer here, coming to you with another track guide. We're doing Gateway, or the Worldwide Technology Raceway. This is Season 2, Week 13. I realize it's kind of late in the week, so I do apologize about that. I haven't been running this much, but I ran 50 laps or so, and ended up with a pretty good time. So I wanted to share for those of you that are going to race these next few days or do leagues, or whatever you do. I'm going to try to condense this. I tried this video once and it was way too long. So we're going to start on our outlap. We're going to be shifting down to third in both corners here. So make sure that you don't have auto blip on. um, you If you have auto blip, you can use it, but it is gonna slow you down a little bit. So just keep that in mind. So coming into 3 and 4, we're gonna go high here. We're gonna watch for this caution light. That's gonna be our marker, and there's also a line on the track. So watch for that. I do apologize if you hear me clearing my voice. I've been sick this week, so I apologize about that. So going into 3 and 4, we're gonna lift at about this before this line, and as we're lifting, you can see we're slowly lifting, getting onto our brake. We're gonna go to about 40% for 3 and 4. Keep a high line here, because you're gonna take the widest way around 3 and 4, which gives you the most distance to build up your speed for your qual lap. So you can see we're at about we started at 40 and we're just slowly trailing down. And you're going to see right there, when you see that blue, that's my shift point. And as I downshift, you're going to hear I just feather the throttle up to about 50%. So that's what you do rather than the auto blip. So that's going to give you a little bit more time than it would if you were using auto blip, because that usually takes a little longer to do, so it takes off some time. So you can see I did a little blip there. Now as that happens, just as I'm easing completely out of my brake before the 5-hour energy sign, that's my shift point as well, and the point that I'm completely out of the brake. Once I do that shift, we're right back into easing into the throttle at the start of this 5-hour energy marker. So we're going up to about 40-50%. Still keeping a high line. You can aim for this little yellow marker, little yellow dash, or not yellow, pink dash. We're at about 60% throttle. And at a certain point here, we're going to start making our way down to do a late apex. So we're going to work our way down to the apron. So we're still keeping about 60%, 65% throttle, and we're already getting very close to the apron at about 75%. And then right as you get to the end of this here, that's where I'm going to start to really get up on the throttle and get to 100%. And you may not be comfortable to get to it at this point. Just for me, I just got to where I was comfortable coming out of 3 and 4, and I'm able to do little micro corrections on the wheel, which you'll see throughout this run. Don't do a slow correction to the right. It's just a very quick to the right and back, just enough to correct that oversteer. You don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to do a slow turn of the wheel and back, because that's going to alter your line, which is ultimately going to put you into the wall. So just try to keep that in mind. So back to 100% throttle here, and look at my wheel as well. We're never going very far over on the wheel, and never our furthest point of wheel input is on the turn in here. So right about there was my furthest point. And you can see the little corrections, and we're slowly opening up the wheel as we work our way through the corner. So that's how you'll know that you're on the right rear tire as opposed to the right front, because you're going to have that, you're going to have that little bit of yaw to where the see here, see the angle, the front tire is just about on this little contact patch here, and the right tire is a good ways off from that. So that is why you can start to open the wheel and also do your corrections. So we're at about 100% right after that little patch of grass and the curb here. And you've seen there, as I shift, I release a little bit of throttle down to, ideally down to about 50% throttle as you make your shift. And you've seen there, it tried to get loose on me. And you can see the car start to straighten out. Bring it up to the wall. Okay, and we're coming to the line at about 154. So going into 1 and 2, you're really going to try to start lifting. For me, it may be, you could probably do a little later, but for me, it's about the time I get past this, between the end of the pit wall and these cones here. And you'll see it's a slow lift. It doesn't look slow in full speed, but it's a gradual lift rather than just an on-off switch. So a little more brake for 1 and 2, you're up to about 50%. Start making your way down to this contact patch right here. So I want to try to put my left tires as close as I can to this patch. Good long trail off of the brake. We're down to about 25-30%. You can see here where my left tires are at, and you can see the slip angle here, especially as I get deeper into the corner. You see there the difference in the angle of the car. That's your, that's your slip angle and your yaw. So we're still at about 20-25%, and then this is my shift point. As you can see, I blip the throttle right there, and then right after that downshift, I'm easing back into the throttle up to about 40%, 50%, and we're slowly going to make our way down for a late apex here on the apron, up to about 75% on the throttle. And once again, keep an eye on the wheel, because you'll see throughout the corner, you'll see these little micro adjustments these little corrections that I make. And once again, the furthest point my wheel is turned is at the beginning of the corner. And certainly you don't want to be putting in more wheel after the apex of the corner. So, and you'll just see my corrections are very quick and then right back, because if you correct and then don't get back to where you don't get your tires pointed back to where the car is aiming to where you're trying to go, then you're just going to work your way up and hit the wall. So there, we're starting to ease into the throttle a little more and come down to where our right tires are in this contact patch. And we're going to start to work our way up to the wall. And just as the car gets straightened out, you'll see I'm a little less aggressive in 1 and 2 coming out than 3 and 4, and that's because I spun out a lot here coming out of 1 and 2. So up to 100% throttle, close to the end of this curb here. And again, look at the steering wheel here. Watch the adjustments that I make to keep the car from spinning out. That one was very close to spinning, so I had to keep it to the right a little longer than I normally would. And you've seen there, once again, make sure you blip the throttle. That's an ideal blip there. Little blip in the throttle and then right back to it after the shift. and you want to try to shift right at about 8,000 RPMs. You don't want to do it too late, and you don't want to do it too early, because both are going to slow you down. So you want to try to get it right as you're getting that engine fully opened up. So right at the top of your RPMs, right as you're hitting 8,000. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, once again getting very close to the wall. And at about the light, once again, just like on the warm-up lap, or, you know, the build-up lap, I'm easing it off at about that line and that caution light. Slowly down the throttle up to about 40, just like before, except this time we're coming a lot further down the track, taking kind of a wide arc down, which starts at about the white line right as you're easing out of the throttle and giving it some brake. So bring it down and just slowly trail off the brake once again, and look at how straight my wheel is. You see that there? I mean, it's very minimal brake once you do your initial turn in. Down to about, and you can see it's kind of, it varies a little bit. It goes back and forth. You've got a little sweet spot there that you're kind of keeping the wheel in, and it's going to be different. Everybody drives differently, but you want to try to be as smooth as you can. I'm generally not I'm not the smoothest of guys on the wheel, but I do it good enough to get the speed. Down to about 15-20% brake, and that's going to be our shift down, giving it a little bit of throttle, and then right back to the throttle. You can see I'm just getting to my lowest point right about here, and then we're going to start to work our way back towards the wall. Just holding it at about 40%, 40 to 55, 60%, 70% as you're coming closer to the exit. And then a little later than on the outlap, I shift a little later than this grass. So on the outlap right here I was at full throttle. And for the actual lap, it's closer to the start of this grass here. You can see I'm unwinding the wheel as I'm going to full throttle. See the little corrections. You can see the car trying to get loose on me. Bring it up to the wall. Make sure you blip your throttle on your shift. Right there, just a little blip of the throttle. Run it out as close to the wall as you can. Bring it down the front line at about 152, 153. So just to speed up the video here, we're going to start at the beginning and let it play all the way through, uninterrupted. And there you go, that's a 33.97 and that's basically Gateway for you. For the race, you just want to be a little less aggressive on your brake and trail out the brake a little longer. Try not to give it too much throttle while you've got the wheel turned. Make sure everything's smooth, and just run. Do a run of like 10 or 20 laps and see what your tire wear is at, and try to come away at the end of that run, calculate what the laps are, and try to get it to where you're not burning too much of either tire, and you're keeping it even throughout the run of the race. So anyhow, hopefully that helps, and sorry about my voice. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one.